Today's podcast is sponsored by Bodibro. Bodibro are a sportswear company based in County Wexford. Be sure to check out their website and social media accounts, and I will leave the links to them in the video description. So Aisling, thanks very much for coming on. How have you been keeping the last 2-3 months? We're just coming out of the lockdown now.
Thanks, Sarah, for having me. Yeah, it's been a very strange time for everyone. I guess at the start, though, it was kind of nice in a way. I was coming home from Australia, so it allowed me to transition back into, I suppose, a bit of normality back home and have some downtime with my family, which was a really nice thing. I suppose last year when I came home, I was thrown straight back into working and back into the tip setup. So it was nice to kind of have those couple of months to find my feet. And I actually started a job then in Portlaoise Hospital there 3 weeks ago. So back to kind of normality now, really, and having a bit of a routine and a job from Monday to Friday. So yeah, it's been a bit strange, but there's been a kind of silver lining to it at the same time.
Yeah, we'll get on to Australia in a while, but I suppose probably, as you said there last year, you probably didn't get a break at all. So sort of the 10 or 11 weeks, just having a break from no training, that probably suits you in a way.
Well, I was really excited to get back, obviously, and play Gaelic football straight away. But when I came back at first, it was early days, so I suppose I thought there was probably just going to be 2 or 3 weeks there without training, and I said, this will give me time to brush up on my skills, pick up the round ball, and get back into the Gaelic side of things. But unfortunately, the way things went, the lockdown got extended, and yeah, like it was nice to have the downtime and that, but it was tough as well, like as an athlete primarily playing a team-based sports all year round. It was tough to kind of get that motivation to go out and do it by yourself. But we have a roadmap now back towards potentially playing games with club and county, so it's really nice to know exactly where we're working towards. But I kind of got a feel for going out for runs and enjoying that side of things and going for walks, and a couple of us went up different mountains and stuff, which you potentially wouldn't do if you were playing Gaelic football. So there's kind of been a nice side to it as well, but obviously all of us are raring to go now and get back in our club and county jerseys as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, the toughest thing probably during the lockdown that there was no date set at all, and you just didn't know when you'd be coming back, and we didn't even know would we have a championship or at all this year.
Yeah, definitely. And at the start, I kind of set goals just to try get a bit fitter and faster and all that. But it kind of, the motivation starts to lull a little bit, not knowing exactly when you needed to peak for, and thinking I can't do this for another 6 months or so. So yeah, it's nice to know exactly what we can work towards, and you can kind of tailor our training towards that. But to be fair to Tipperary, early on in the lockdown, they gave us a little bit of a break for being accountable to them, which I thought was really important, because a lot of people are under different pressures in different areas. Some girls might have lost their job or were working from home, and other girls were in the middle of their leaving cert, which is obviously up in the air as well. So I think it was a good call from them to kind of give us that break from being accountable. But we've all kind of kept up our own little bits, and we've been on that app Strava, so we can kind of see what we're each of us are doing. And if I see one of the girls has done a run this morning, it will get me kind of up and ready to go do something myself. So we've kind of been more accountable to ourselves, which has been nice. We've been doing everything for ourselves really in the last few weeks, and it's
Oh yeah, you broke up there for a sec. We'll go back on. So then Tipperary, would it be a split between the camogie and ladies football? I know with the men's that's probably predominantly hurling, but what's the divide like in terms of camogie and ladies football?
Within Tipperary, is it?
Yeah.
It would kind of be similar enough. Like a lot of camogie clubs will be based up around North Tip, which would kind of be like the hurling part of the county as well. And then South Tip would mostly have a lot of the ladies football clubs. But I think our club here probably broke the mold a little bit throughout underage, and we also competed in Club All Irelands in both football and camogie in the same year in 2015. So I do think there is probably a little bit more of a spread of ladies football and camogie throughout the county compared to men's. I suppose down south they would predominantly just focus on football, and they'd have hurling, but it'd just be mostly football. I suppose in the north is it's probably mostly hurling, but yeah, it'd be a similar divide. But I do think, you know, clubs try to do their best to facilitate both codes. And yeah, I think our club has been exceptional on the ladies side at both football and camogie as I grew up and into adult level as well.
I'm sure there's probably a lot of dual players. Back probably a few years ago, the fixtures calendar probably didn't suit, but do you think they're coming out with that now and trying to accommodate both codes?
Yeah, like you'd hope that they would be. I guess, you know, a difficulty that will come up and a challenge maybe potentially with all the games starting is the
Yeah.
facilities and trying to get a field for everyone. I suppose I'm hoping that the ladies sports, the football and camogie, won't get pushed to the side when they're trying to facilitate the men's game. But yeah, I definitely think that'll be a challenge, and especially county games are potentially going to be going into winter months. So, you know, having pitches that are playable and things.
Yeah.
But look, that's a challenge. Hopefully we'll just be able to overcome when we have to. But look, it's going to be a nightmare for the fixture committees to try fit everything in. And I don't envy them having that job, but hopefully they can do the right thing and allow people to play both for their club. And then I know Orla Dwyer plays both as well for us, for Tipperary. So, you know, she's had to she's come up against clashes, you know, over the last couple of seasons. So hopefully just for the growth of ladies sport that they don't clash both camogie and football, because it splits the spectators as well, and people have to decide which game they have to go to, whereas if they're on different days, potentially you could get a bigger crowd as well to both games.
Yeah, then the team itself, 2017, you won the intermediate final against Tyrone. What was the whole experience like? I suppose the first time playing at Croke Park and winning the final that day as well.
Yeah, I suppose it was extra special. That year was the first year that a lot of us would have won an All Ireland at adult level with Tipperary. I know a couple of the older girls would have won in 2008. There probably was 3 or 4 of them. But the majority of the squad, this was our first win. So, you know, it was really special. You know, that year as well, we came close to many teams. Wexford were kind of our arch rivals that year. We came up against them a good few times. So it was really nice to get over the line. I think it was a great team performance that day as well, which is always nice, you know, that we knew we performed. And it was a great way to finish the year and end up going into Division 2 football that the year after, and then into senior championship as well. So yeah, it was a really nice end to 2017.
Yeah, and you can even see the crowds every year at the finals in Croke Park are building year on year. Like, how much of a factor, like the likes of Lidl putting in like sponsorship money in that's growing the ladies' game every year?
Yeah, like even the last couple of years from the 2 finals we were in, I think the first year in 2017 there was about 45,000, and then there was 56,000 last year. So you know, like that's a huge difference. And yeah, it is thanks to the people that have come on board with sponsorships. The likes of Lidl and TG Caher as well have been great to broadcast our games. And I do think, yeah, the popularity of ladies football is really growing, and it is thanks to those, you know, you see girls on billboards, which you wouldn't have seen 5 years ago. There's ads on TG Caher as well, thanks to Lidl. And I think, you know, there's more people coming on board, like AIG as well, sponsoring all the codes up in Dublin. They've also come on board with ladies football a bit as well with the insurance side of things. So I think it's a really popular thing these days for businesses to get involved in ladies sport, and I think they gain a lot of respect from the general public as well, that they do put funding into it. So yeah, I think it's thanks to those kind of big names that have helped to grow the sport. And I do think it's becoming a faster game as well. And you know, like it's a little bit different to the men's game. Like it's probably a little bit more free flowing than what the men's game has turned into a little bit. So I do think, you know, you can't really compare the both. And if you take the ladies game for what it is, it is a great spectacle, and it's only getting better and better. And I think that's also what's helping with people, like if they do turn on TG Cahir and see Dublin and Cork playing in an All-Ireland final or semi-final, they can see that it is a great game, and it can gain a lot of respect from people as well.
Would you even have noticed through the years now the level even of fitness and skill level and that it's improving year on year by doing it in training and playing matches?
Yeah, definitely. I first started on playing with Tipperary in 2013, so I was about 16, and like from then to now, like there's no comparison on even just the standard of training and things, and it's probably the same in the men's side as well. It's turning more professional, and you're being asked to do a lot more, but you want to do it and you want to put in that time away from training to be the best player you can be. And you'd be found out these days if you're not putting in those extra hours outside of training, even just for things like recovery and making sure that you're in optimum shape to train hard. And yeah, definitely the strength and conditioning side of things has improved dramatically, and a lot of teams have strength and conditioning coaches now with their teams for that side of things, whereas I suppose in my early days there mightn't have been that much of a emphasis on that side of it, and it would have been predominantly the football coach that would have dealt with all that, whereas now you're seeing more people come in to do the gym side of it and the fitness side of it compared to like a few years ago.
Yeah, and obviously then 2018 you got, after winning that final against Tyrone, you got up to senior. Did you even notice the huge jump that you're playing the likes of the Dublins, Corks, Mayos then? How big of a jump is it?
Yeah, I guess for us we got kind of a nice introduction into senior football, because that year in the league we played Division 2, so we probably would have played a lot of senior, or a few senior teams in that, and then some intermediate teams as well. So it would have been a little level up from where we were the year before, which would have helped us in our preparation for senior championship. But yeah, look, it was another jump, and we were very competitive. I think we lost by 6 points to Kerry, and that was the biggest gap we had all year. I think it was 5 to Cork and 3 to Donegal. So, it wasn't that we were written off that year and that we weren't potentially competing with those big teams. It's just little things like we couldn't get over the line, and it might be our composure a little bit. We weren't taking our chances, which you have to do at that level. And then we were probably allowing teams at different stages when we lacked a bit of focus to get on top of us, and maybe we leaked a few goals. So look, it was a really disappointing end to that year as well. But yeah, it is a massive jump, but we learned a lot from it, definitely. And just different things that you have to learn to play senior football. You have to be a little bit cuter, which you probably don't need that side of things when you're playing at the intermediate level, and you probably get away with things that they get brushed under the carpet a little bit, or they don't kind of come to the top of they don't boil to the top, I suppose, when you're playing at that level, and you kind of you can get through games fairly easily, whereas at the senior level every little percentage counts. And I think that's what we learned from that year, definitely.
Yeah, like last year, would you been expecting nearly to win that final against Meath, or win the championship, that she won the intermediate, had that senior experience? Like, how much did the experience count or stand to you that day against Meath?
Definitely. I think there was probably a lot of expectations on our shoulders, but we didn't really listen to the outside talk, I guess. And, probably looking back on it, we were one of the only teams, I'd say, to ever play in the Division 1 league and be an intermediate team. So, in January, February, March, you're playing against the top senior teams, the top 7 senior teams in the country. And then that summer we were playing a division below. So look, yeah, there was a lot expected of us, but we still had a job to do. We had to get through the Munster Championship, and we had to get through quarterfinal, semi-final, and then a final. So it was no easy feat, and intermediate is definitely, you can get stuck down there. There's a lot of good teams down there that are all trying to get up to the senior ranks. And then each year as well, someone gets relegated and they're trying to jump straight back up. So it's no easy feat, but our experience definitely probably told against the likes of Meath in that final. And they'll only learn from that too. And unfortunately, the year before they lost out to Tyrone as well. So it could be their year this year, but the likes of Westmeath now have been relegated. So they'll add another tough team into that pool as well. So it's no easy kind of task to get out of there. But definitely, I think our experience of playing Division 1 and senior definitely stood to us, and just the drive of us wanting to get back up to the senior ranks as well.
Yeah, do you like the three tiers, or the senior, intermediate, and junior? I know in the men's they're nearly trying to bring in a second tier now, but do you think it works well in the ladies' championship?
Definitely, I do. Like, I started off playing my football at intermediate level, and I think, as a young player into that setup, it was kind of a stepping stone to allow me to play at adult level. And I think, when I look back this year in the 2019 final, a lot of girls were minor still on our team. Like, our average age was probably about 20, and I think it was great that they got to play adult football, play in Croke Park and win in All-Ireland. And I know it was at intermediate level, but they've gained such experience from that year of football that they can bring into senior football. And, maybe if they went straight into playing against the best teams in the country, potentially they wouldn't have been able to have as much confidence in themselves. They wouldn't have been able to kind of, I suppose, grow in the way they have. And then again, for us as a team, like, winning that intermediate is a stepping stone in general as well. And like, we've had such exciting times as a team winning both those All-Irelands, and it's definitely brought us closer together and allowed us to kind of grow as a team going into the senior championship. So, when I look at the setup of the men's competition, and, if we were a team that wasn't getting anywhere all the time, like, I think it would be tough to kind of get yourself riled up to go back the next season. And I know a lot of people want to win senior All-Ireland, and that's obviously the pinnacle of football. And that's our dream as well. But I do think that having a tiered system allows teams to kind of taste that success and have a stepping stone going forward. And, if you win intermediate, you end up being a senior team, and then you can go on and grow to win at the highest level. And I kind of think it kind of allows you to do that. So I think it's definitely not a disadvantage having it, but obviously there's been a lot of debate about it over the last couple of years, deciding what to do with the men's championship. But I think from a ladies football point of view anyway, it works really well.
Yeah, we'll move on to your time in Australia. Obviously, you've had 2 years now, but how did the whole move come about in the first place?
So in 2018, I actually got an Instagram message from Crosscoders. So they're an organisation that they're basically an agency that helps people come across from other sports into AFLW. So they messaged me. I didn't really think too much of it. I didn't think it was real, to be honest, to start with. But then I kind of talked to my parents, and they said, like, message back, see what story is. So it just kind of started from there, and they saw footage of me playing for Tipperary, and then just had to send on some skills videos and had an interview. And then I got an email in August of that year saying that I was invited to a trial in Melbourne. So there was 18 other girls that went out to that trial for a week. So it was really nice introduction to, I suppose, life out in Australia. And we got to see the facilities of different clubs, and we had a few training sessions with different coaches, and then there were scouts and things from the clubs at that. And we played a game as well against Australian girls, so amateur club based girls, and we did really, really well. So I think that's probably what turned the heads of the scouts then, how well we did. So after that, then the draft was in October, so I put my name forward in the draft. And obviously, as you know, it's kind of a lucky dip, and you don't really know where you'd end up based on the rankings of the clubs and that. So I was speaking to a couple of clubs, but that night didn't really know if my name would get picked out at all. But the Western Bulldogs picked me out at pick 23, and then just had to get my visa and everything sorted, and out I went then a couple of weeks later for pre-season. So it all happened really quickly. I suppose that at the start of it all, I couldn't imagine that I would be going out there at all. But then it just kind of snowballed from there, and there was 5 of us from Ireland out there that year in my first year, and then I think there was something like 18 of us this year. So there's been a big jump, and I think it kind of shows how well the ladies footballers do, and I think it's kind of a testament to ladies football and where we're at physically, as well as I suppose our kind of football brains and that as well, that we can then go and play a different sport on the other side of the world and do quite well there as well.
Yeah, was it a tough decision at all? Because obviously it's a huge, nearly lifestyle change as well. You're so far away from Ireland. But did you find it tough to leave, or was it, I'm going to take this opportunity when it comes to me, it mightn't happen again?
Yeah, I guess like I went out to the trial, not thinking I get picked anyway. So kind of just went out for the week, just to see what everything was about. And then with regards to the draft, I didn't know whether I get picked either. So I was kind of just putting my name in the hat really.
Yeah.
But when I got picked, yeah, like it was just to take the opportunity. It was only 6 months. I hadn't been traveling before either, so there was that side of things. And then also I'd be back in time to play championship for Tipperary, which they were great to be allowing me back into the squad as well. So it was the best of both worlds. And I think it wasn't too daunting heading away, because you're coming back in 6 months. Whereas I know with the men's season, when they get picked up as rookies, they're potentially signing for 2 or 3 years. And when they get on that plane, it's a bit more of a life decision than mine would be, because I still would have my life in Ireland for that 6 months, and playing for Tip and working as a physio as normal. So, it's a little bit of a lifestyle change, but it's only 6 months on the other side of the world. Whereas I know on the men's side of things, it would definitely be a bigger decision. But, the girls' game is going in that direction. So in a couple of years, there might be harder decisions to make for people. You might have to actually fully relocate to Australia, which would obviously be a tougher decision when people have to come to that.
Yeah, as you said there, that's probably a big even thing for you, that you can play over Australia and you can come back and you can just start the championship with Tipperary then for the summer.
Yeah, that was definitely a big factor, and knowing that you can do both. And I know a lot of the girls that they'd be in the same situation like that their first love is Gaelic football, and that's what you dream of as a little kid. Want to represent your county and win in All Ireland. But being able to spend 6 months immersed in a professional environment and being able to invest all your time into becoming a better player is something that you can't experience here. And I think it's a really nice opportunity to be able to experience that when you do take the opportunity to go to Australia. And we don't work because of our visa restrictions either. So we're constantly just there to get ready for training, recover from training. And then also it's the nice weather in Australia, so you can head off to the beach and things like that. So it's a really nice lifestyle change. And it's really nice to kind of, I suppose, experience that professional aspect, but then you also have your normal life and you're playing for Tip, which is the dream you had as a kid as well.
Yeah, what's the training like compared to the ladies football training over here?
Yeah, so that was probably something that I was really scared about going out. Didn't know, where I'd lie with regards to my fitness going into training in Australia. But I found that it was fairly similar. We're only contracted for 15 hours a week in Australia. So we probably, most teams, like my team anyway, did 3 collective sessions, but they'd be like 5 hours long. So you go in, you get your physio, you might have team meetings, you could do extra kicking and things like that with the coaches, video analysis, and then you go out on the pitch for the 90 minutes, kind of like what you do here in Ireland. And then you go in and you do your gym session afterwards, and recovery, ice baths, have food. So I think the major difference is probably everything's at your doorstep in Australia, whereas in Ireland you're doing all the same things, but most of it's in your own spare time. Like for Tipperary, we meet up and we do our pitch sessions, we do some collective gym sessions, but a lot of the time we're doing the same things. We're doing our recovery, we're eating well, we're looking at video, but a lot of it's in our own time. So I think just the major thing was the facilities, but definitely the standard of training, there wasn't a huge jump. Like all the girls I've come across, like some of them are fitter than other girls. I know, I think Sarah Rowe and Orla Dwyer holds the record for the 2K time trial at their clubs, for example. And there's other players that are stronger than the Australian girls in that. So I think it's great to see where ladies football is at, and that our training is up at that level, the same as what a kind of professional, semi-professional training setup would be like as well.
Yeah, would the biggest difference be the ball, getting used to that in training and in matches?
Yeah, definitely the ball and the physicality. So the ball is just so unpredictable, and I guess, you know, you couldn't wait for it to bounce sometimes, and sure, it would be gone anywhere and everywhere. So that was definitely a big difference, and just getting used to kicking. But you know, a lot of us pick it up fairly easily, because you know, we come from playing Gaelic football. A lot of the skills are transferable. And then the one big thing would be the physicality. So it's a bit of a free for all in that sense. You can get pushed off the ball, you can get pulled jerseys, shouldering, obviously the tackling then. So it just doesn't come second nature to you to kind of shoulder someone before you get to a ball, because you can't do that in ladies football, or to kind of hand them off and get that space around you before you get the ball. So I think that was probably a big thing that you had to kind of relearn. And be more aware that you're running for a ball and there's someone coming after you, like they can bump you out of the way and things. And also you can just get tackled from any angle. So you kind of had to have eyes in the back of your head, and you end up getting rid of the ball quite quickly. It's not really where you'd be holding on to possession and soling around or anything like that. So yeah, it is a bit different in that sense.
And I suppose nearly to finally then, would the future be to go back over to Australia again for another year, or is it trying to maybe stay another year here in Ireland and concentrate on Tip?
Yeah, so everything obviously went up in the air a little bit because of the COVID situation. So last year I would have already released the Bulldogs in April, but the sign and trade period this year has been changed and extended to August. So, and then obviously we would ideally be playing championship at the moment. So it would, you know, work out well that we'd have championship played and we'd head back over. So yeah, look, everything's up in the air a little bit. I haven't really been talking too much to my club about things, because obviously it's been extended till August. And then I think probably will wait as well for the fixtures to come out, so I can kind of see what you can work around with. But you know, I'm not ruling it out, but I think it will just be a more difficult decision this year, having to factor in, you know, championship and things. And then I've obviously started a new job as well, up in Portlaoise Hospital. So you know, there's just a lot more to think about, but I have a few months to think about it yet. But yeah, I think, you know, for a lot of us, it will be more difficult this year to decide. But we have time on our hands anyway to see.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Aisling, thanks very much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.